Berserk Boy, the 2D action-packed love letter we desperately needed. It's proof that the genre continues to innovate and feel fresh. Just like in Mega Man ZX, you've got several forms you can use. You can switch them on the fly like a weapon select, or stop and choose through a selection wheel. And there's even these platforms that change you automatically to help keep the fast-paced action moving. Each form has its own moveset as well as special attacks that require energy. And they come with unique ultimate moves that require a separate meter that recharges with basic attacks. They also have their own movement options as well, so each new form can be exciting to use to see what new stuff you can do. It's also got influences from Sonic Advance titles as well as Azure Striker Gunvolt, and almost everything relating to Mega Man, from classic scrolling segments all the way up to ZX Advent. Basically, this game will feel at home for other savvy gamers of the 2D action genre. You play as a young lad named Kai. He works with the Resistance with his partner Dizzy, who also happens to be voiced by Amy Smith of Mila Freedom Planet fame.
Aha! Got it!
Dizzy detects a high energy presence in the area, so you two track it down in the hopes of finding the mythical Berserk Orb. And I'll be straight up, the story is very similar to the opening of Mega Man ZX. Instead of Model X guiding you, you have Fior, a talking bird who provides the Berserk Orb needed for Kai to transform. And to do so, you have to shout, "Rock on!" Wait, no, I meant Mega Merge! Wait, no, I meant
Go Berserk!
The world itself is clearly inspired by Mega Man Zero, with a clear example being the teleporter room being an homage to the Resistance base of the game. You can even walk around said base to talk to the others as well, and Kai works as a teleporter, which is a cheeky nod to how Ale and Vent work as transporters in ZX. As for the core gameplay, once you get past the intro mission, you play through the game in a set order. You don't get to pick the boss, unfortunately. It is a linear progression system, where each level has a specific theme and 3 stages. And at the end of the 3rd stage, you have a boss waiting for you at the end who can also go berserk. There are 5 main levels, 3 stages each, and each stage is segmented into 4 phases, where you can warp back and forth to collect everything. Of course, there's extras like intermissions and final missions. And man, these stages are really fun. My first time average completion time ranges from about 4 to 8 minutes. There's a lot of zooming and dashing where the enemies not only act as obstacles, but can even help you. So there's a lot of fun in chaining together combos and using the enemies as puzzle elements to help you berserk through the stage with style. Also, you can bounce on top of enemies like Mario. I think that's cute. Each stage also has people for Kai to teleport back to base, along with 5 badges to collect. And be sure to stay alive when you're out collecting. All those funny badges are deposited at warp points. If you die, you have to go recollect them. So it only counts if you reach a checkpoint before moving on. There is a Metroidvania tag on Steam, and I can see some aspects of that come into play, simply because you cannot 100% a stage on the first playthrough. You're forced to go back once you have new forms acquired, so you can seek out and obtain even more collectibles. And when you rescue everyone in a stage, you unlock an EX version of it. Basically a harder mode that puts your skills to a true test. And while the Mega Man and Sonic influences are obvious, you don't actually play the same as either game. Again, each form has unique attacks that don't actually jump or shoot or even slash for that matter. For example, first up is Lightning. You can strike the ground to discharge and launch enemies up. You can also dash into multiple enemies and send a shockwave their way for massive damage. You can also stomp down, bringing Kai to the ground instantly while dealing heavy damage. Then you have Fire, baby. You spin like the Tasmanian Devil to zoom across the ground. It's also the best choice to take out enemies since you can punch them and combo them with flames. You can uppercut up in the air for extra altitude as well, and drill straight into the ground and stay beneath to avoid attacks, as long as you have the energy. Honestly, I was using this like alien hominid. The Ice form is heavily inspired by Model P, Phantom's form of ZX. With Icy Kunai spam for a range option, and the ability to cling to certain surfaces, it can also air dash too, and can even dash chain across enemies if you're skilled enough. The Wind form is inspired by Model H, Harpooia of ZX as well, and it lets you fly around the stage. It's nice, but it's slow moving compared to the other options, and its offensive capabilities are a bit lower tier since it can only use a shield to reflect projectiles. You can toss the shield too, but it circles only once before disappearing, and it also uses a bunch of energy that you also use for flight, so Yeah, it's not the best for offense. And the Earth form has the opposite issue. Great offense, but poor mobility. I love how its main attack is a callback to ZX Advent, where you can lock on enemies with a scanner and then blow them up. And it uses the same special attack sequence too. See, there's the Omni Cube. You can grenade jump once in the air and use it to chain jump on specific platforms. But it's a bit too slow and lacks any additional aerial or dash techniques, so it wasn't something I was actively moving with. The last two forms may not be absolute winners, but they still chain together pretty well. And this is just my surface level assessment. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else found out how to use them far more effectively. There's also an upgrade system. As you play, the stages have these energy restoring crystals that double as money. And you can use them to upgrade HP, weapon energy, learn new attacks, and just generally buff your new forms. It'll be a while before you can buy everything, so my advice is to spread your upgrades because you will be switching between these forms often. And I'll raise the concern right now. People might complain that the game is too short, especially since my playthrough was done in 6 hours, but I've seen others clock in at 8 to 10. But the gameplay is so fun and addictive that I know I'm going to be coming back to it. Helps that the game has an awesome soundtrack too, since you've got T-Lopes of Sonic Mania fame working on it, as well as Johnny Etma. Johnny rocks the Game Metal channel, and he makes amazing remixes of almost every game I love, including Silhouette Mirage and Iggy. I do have some gripes and nitpicks over the game though, so this is just my little segment where I hope the dev watches and takes notes to hopefully improve the game. One thing I really didn't like was the intermission invasion thing that happens each time you acquire a new form.
Enemies spawn in your home base and you gotta find them all and take them out. Oh yeah.
Look how quickly the NPCs spawn in when you do clear it out. It was cool at first, but ultimately it's really unneeded. It broke the pacing of the game since you have to search every room, hoping to find the last enemy to whoop just so you could go back to the actual game. As for the stages, there were a couple segments I accidentally broke since I moved a little too fast. For example, I didn't realize I had to stand in the center of a platform to activate an auto-scrolling event. The Ice Kunai puzzle segments can be a bit difficult too with how the dashing works. I always kinda panicked at these because I didn't feel like I had total control over how fast Kai was automatically dashing. And this is probably a personal problem, but I kept thinking you have to dash into the ice gates. Dashing into gates is how you open them while you're in the first lightning form. So I was already primed to dash into them, but since it's the Ice Kunai gate, you actually have to shoot at it. So I kept accidentally bumping myself and dropped into open pits as a result. And there are some cheap deaths, I'm not gonna cap. There were far and few in between, but sometimes the reaction time was just a bit too short.
And also the game really likes its open pits. Some are indicated with the skull hazard icon and others aren't. And the Deathfall zone is a little too high. You don't actually die falling in, but rather when you reach a certain depth that's on screen. Sometimes you move a little too fast, and you think you can save yourself with some wall jumping, but nope, it's already too late. It creates some funny visuals at times too, where Kai just seems to give up on life for being too close to a gap. Like this one time where I managed to catapult up with an uppercut, but Kai still reached that depth and died as a result. It can kill your buzz when there's clearly enough space for Kai to jump back up safely, but then you're already too late.
It doesn't help that I'm a curious explorer too. For example, I backtracked to this ladder, thinking that it would lead down to a secret, but nope, the hole devours me yet again. So these are just minor things that need some adjustments. Maybe the last two forms can use buffs in the future, but honestly it's too soon for me to truly suggest until after I master this game. And trust me, I'm gonna be mastering this game. I really hope this video helped you decide on whether or not you're gonna purchase this game. I know $20 sounds a bit too steep, but you know how I am with indie studios. I'll gladly pay that amount if it means we get more of this. My final tip, if you do decide to get it, grab those badges. That final mission is locked behind a quota of 50 medals, and man, what a rush it was. Anyways, thank you for watching.